There's some bands who kind of, they tour and that's what they're focused on, and then they go to the studio to write. For us, the two, we weave in and out of the two all the time. We're constantly writing, albeit that sometimes with the chaos that that comes from being on the road, it's kind of more bitty and a bit more kind of chaotic, and there's a lot of threads, and sometimes it's difficult to really reflect on what you've written and how it will all somehow kind of come together. But which is why I think there comes a point after we've been touring for a long time where we always try and take, it can only sometimes be a week, but we try and take a week just to kind of, look at the material that we've
just
written,
grab in moments,
consolidate it.
on the road, just moments, but they're really important
moments
to do that. I think we've never wanted to be a band that puts things in boxes. I think that writing or just every aspect of the band, music in general, should be something that you live and breathe. It's not something that you put in boxes. Right, I'm gonna go to the studio and get inspired, then I'm gonna go on the road, and it's like should be a constant melting pot.
We were on the road, we were touring the Big Raw. We took a week off in November and we went to Portland, Maine. And I think, we were very, very hungry to get back in the studio from, because of what we've just described. We've written a lot on the road, but I hadn't really had the time to piece it all together properly. And I think just over the course of the year, I think there's been changes personally, and the way that we were feeling, that it feels like there's a good sense of a different type of focus and calmness that's maybe fallen on the band that maybe wasn't there when we wrote the Big Raw. I think the Big Raw was it was a very introspective record on certain levels. I mean, it had wider meaning in it and social commentary, and it went outside just being about ourselves as well. But I think maybe even more so in this record, it feels like it's unlocked doors and themes and subjects that that are wider than just ourselves.
Yeah, properly in tune with things again, and being very much inspired by people's stories. Like we have a song on the album called The Leopard and the Lung, which talks about Wangari Maathai and her story, which is very, very touching to us. How she basically, it was her against the government in Kenya. One woman against it all and pushing for women's rights in what was a very dire situation, and within that also looking at nature and bringing women together to look after the trees. She always said that the trees were kind of like the lungs of the earth. Another song is Tendons, which is the first songs we've talked about, essentially the love between me and Ritzy, and how it's something us coming together was such a big part of this band and a really beautiful thing, but it's almost like there's a polarity to it. There's a destructive element as well, because we're almost like our very best friends and soulmates, and the flip side to that is that we sometimes don't have any time outside of the band together, so it's a really strange interweaving thing. There's the turnaround, which talks about the loss of family members. I think that's a big factor that's on this album a lot. The Big Raw, I think, dealt with a lot of death, but this time it feels like death is there and it's more present than it was before. Really, we've lost a lot of people and we've lost relationships and been through difficult times, but still there's a real sense of hope with it. I think not everything is about being happy and being ignorant. It's also about looking very difficult circumstances in the eye and going, you've got to have like audacity to have some hope. Yeah, fucking hell, I'm ranting a bit now. Sorry, there's a lot, a lot going on, but we kind of felt like we were just, you know, we couldn't write quick enough, and I think because of the personal circumstances of where we'd come to this place of focus, it felt like we were ultra inspired, and there was a lot of
there's a lot of different themes and inspirations.
You know,
yeah.
A big thing, which again comes back to what we were saying about the album, which documents somehow this journey, is Ritzy finally getting some closure with what was a very difficult time with your family, you know, like that her parents went through a very, very messy, long, drawn-out divorce. I mean, I've never seen anything as turbulent as that, and oddly enough, they're the best of friends, and they've actually come together now and actually started talking again, because Ritzy didn't talk to her you know, father for a long, long time. And for me, you know, being with Ritzy, I think it's really, really a big thing. You know, it's affected every single aspect of this band, of the writing. It doesn't define it, but I think a lot of this kind of need to have hope and always looking forward comes from those kind of difficult times, and it's you know, not everything is serene, but it's really brought home this life-changing feeling, I think, of like, grab the moment, you know, and don't have any regrets. It's really not worth it.
Look at those cheeks.